Reading this model as a dungeon master will make you very depressed. But it's my 50th video. Castles Forlorn was written by Lisa Smedman and published by TSR for the Ravenloft line of products back in 1993. And Lisa Smedman is quite well known for producing a lot of models in the series and adventures, mostly based in Ravenloft itself. Sometimes she was hit and miss, but in this one she did a pretty good job. What do you get for your money? Well, you get 3 booklets in the box. Obviously it's a box set. And it's the Weeping Land, Melancholy Meetings and Eve of Sorrow. Those are the titles they got for the booklets. You also get a poster map and a poster. Now with the poster map, it's a little bit oversized. You have to fold it to be able to see the regions depicted upon it without the other playing characters seeing it, and it can't be subject to a few bits of wear and tear. So I'm not entirely happy with that. It's the biggest fault of the second edition, was they seem to think that printing out these oversized maps was a very good idea. Not so. Anyhow, Castles Forlorn has one of the chance meetings of a Dark Lord that perhaps you will have a better chance of meeting a Dark Lord in this particular model than perhaps you would have had in any other models. I mean, Castle Ravenloft notwithstanding, Strahd is the main one in there, and you might get to meet him depending on how you run the adventure in that particular place. Very much the same here. Only fact is that you've got to actually meet the Dark Lord and defeat him in order to prevent him from destroying the land and the people's winning it. Now, in the course of the adventure, they get to meet several different people, druids, the ghosts, and all of them have a backstory. And the player cards will find out how Ravenloft got to take this particular realm and bring it into the realm of terror, and how the people end up being changed. Where they used to be human, they're not anymore. Now the Dark Lord is very interesting, a person called Tristan, and he by day is a vampire, but by night he metamorphoses into a ghost and goes through horrible pain as he do so, and then in the morning he goes reverting back to his vampire form, again suffering horrible pain. Now he's confined to one particular area of the realm itself, which is only 3 miles wide roughly and about 20 miles long, and it's no different from one of the West Valleys that I live in here. There's a huge interesting variation in geography here, and it's exactly the same in this model. So if you ever wanted to know how to fill a model or land only of that size, take a look around you in one of the valleys, and I'm sure you'll find plenty of material to put it in there. And indeed, there's a lot of material in this. Lisa Smedman has done a very good job of covering everything in the realm and putting a lot of sandbox elements in there. You can spend weeks and weeks and weeks of playing this, interacting with all the different characters you care to meet in the game. And most particularly the druids. And the druids are the people who are trying to preserve the trees in the realm itself, while the Dark Lord is trying to chop them down. Now the Dark Lord firmly believes if he gets rid of certain trees, then he'll break himself free from the confines in Castles Forlorn due to the curse that he suffers, which is why he's a vampire by day and a ghost by night. Destroying the trees also destroys the confines that he's in, and these confines the actual castle itself and part of the grounds. He can't go any further than that, but he has the control of the goblins that infest the realm, and you can see through their eyes and understand what they're seeing and know exactly what's going on. And he sent these goblins out to chop down the trees, and the druids are the ones who are trying, as I said just now, to stop the trees from being destroyed. There's several elements in this model as well which Dungeon Master will have to take care of. Firstly, it's the fact that if one of the playing characters says that he or even she has red hair, then that becomes quite an important thing in the model itself. Now we don't try and sort of push them towards that, we've just got to get them to naturally say they have red hair. If they're so lucky and say they do, then yes, there's some elements in the model that are becoming quite significant indeed, particularly when a red-haired person suddenly comes on the scene. Yes, you explore Castles Forlorn, interact with the druids and interact with the ghosts in Castles Forlorn as well. and you get all the information, or the players will get all the information they need then to try and find out how to destroy the Dark Lord himself. And it's one of the very few occasions in the Ravenloft line of products where you can actually destroy a Dark Lord. It makes it quite interesting there. As I said, there's a huge amount of material and a huge to play, so they're not going to solve the mystery all at once. Now, Castles Forlorn itself is one of the slightly problematic things of this. First of all, it's very interesting in the fact that it's got several different time periods where the characters go from one room and find themselves in the past. They go from another room, they find themselves in the future. And it all depends on, I personally would roll the dice to see whether or not in one particular time frame, whenever they enter a room, they try to go back through the other room again. They're in a different time frame. It all depends on the dice roll. You get quite a few random different time scenarios there. But that's one of the main problems, is the fact they've got to keep track of these different time frames in each particular room. And there's also consequences of a player character having to, and that's where the problem lies. Suppose you're going into a room that you just described as being absolutely pristine and there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever, and it never will be. But they've gone into the past then when they re-enter the room, and they set off a fireball, and they blow the room to pieces, and so on. Now you just described it as being pristine, but when you go back into it again, it's been fireballed. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes done to the room, fire damage, smoke damage, and if you're trying to do structural repairs, then it's going to be certainly different from the room you just described a few moments ago. That's the problem with it, see. It's a timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly thing, Doctor Who, where everything just goes slightly different each time you do it, and the logical gorgeous knots to tie yourself up with is going to be quite phenomenal. And they never quite was with us players, because when we played it, there was always that grandfather paradox going on in the model itself, where you interact with a character, you kill him, and he suddenly appears again in the future, just because you mentioned him a few sessions ago, that he was alive then when you saw him in the future, but you killed him in the past. There was things like that that sort of gave us the model a sort of grinding halt, and the only way I sort of got around that problem was by saying that it moved up different time streams. Now you've done an action that opened up a time stream as you were going down, but the one that happened before is parallel to that one, and so on and so forth. And the only way that can be accepted, and the paradoxes and the sort of conflicts then, if you like, on logic, can be thrown out the window a bit, and you go along with the flow after thinking of it like that. Yes, and it's something. There was another thing in the model as well called the Wild Hunt, which was depicted as the man with the stags and all these creatures chasing after somebody, and it's been distorted in Ravenloft. I honestly now, hand in my heart, say I can't remember exactly how we went now, because it's been quite a few years since I actually had the model and run it. But it was a jarring anomaly having this thing, the Wild Hunt, in the actual game itself. It didn't belong there, and why Lisa Sinnett saw fit to put it in there, I don't know. Only she can tell you. It just didn't sit well with the whole of the ethos and the model itself. And also in play as well, you get the Goblyns, which are featured in the Feast of Goblyns, and they're described as very vicious creatures in this model, with a sort of tribal outlook on life, and anybody who's outside gets smashed about in the most gruesome way possible and eaten. Part of the model says that they run a natural 20, they'll grab hold of you like limpets. They're not going to let go, and they start eating your face, which is not a very pleasant way of going into your demise, I must tell you. But that's it. But the player characters will actually learn the tragic backstories of these goblins and realise exactly what they are. And that kind of makes it for the sort of interesting role-playing reactions that you have from the characters as they realise what it's all about with them. There's a creature in the lake called Aki, and there's an undead serpent, Loch Ness monster type effort that it's a little bit of fun to play, but again, doesn't really do anything for the whole model itself. It's just an encounter and just a muck about sort of thing, at least to my mind anyway. It doesn't serve a huge amount of purpose with the overall ethos and plot of the model itself. So yes, it's a very interesting land, a very interesting sandbox that you can actually start playing around in. and it's got one of the better Dark Lords that I've come across in all of the Ravenloft products. Apart from Strahd, who has a big backstory, this guy also has a backstory as well, and his tragedy is played out in front of the player character's eyes as they go through time in the castle itself, and also interacting with the ghosts, which can be quite deadly unless they do it as good as they possibly can when each encounter. If they survive them, then they will get all the clues they need then and know exactly what to do to destroy the Dark Lord. And as I said, it's one of the few models in the Ravenloft line where the player character actually get that chance to do so. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it, but even though I must say you enjoy reading it, this is sort of misnomer. It's a very depressing read. I'm sorry to say, it's a weirdly spent word in the whole of the stuff in the paragraphs and description, the actions and all this stuff like that. It kind of makes you feel a bit sad after reading it. You want to do something to cheer yourself up. As for the players, they wouldn't get any of that sort of thing coming off there because they're not reading the model, they're playing it, and they find it far more interesting for them, especially when they interact with the Druids and also help them fight off the Goblyns that are trying to hunt them down. So it's interesting for them in that particular aspect. But as I said, for the Dungeon Master reading thing, can be quite depressing indeed. But apart from that, it's my 50th video, and I've enjoyed doing it, so all these videos so far, and I will carry on doing them. But as long as anybody wants me to, if they don't want me to, they just scream at me and tell me to stop. But I think with hundreds of models and adventures published from TSR from the first and second edition back in the day, there's a huge amount of material that I can cover, and I probably could be doing this now for the next 10 years. And it'll be fun doing it as well. Anyway, take care you guys, have a nice day and enjoy yourself, yeah? Rock on.